Hi everybody, it's me Vic. Today I wanted to talk about Wavelink 3.0. I'm really excited. I had the pleasure of testing out one of the alpha versions before the launch to the public beta that was just released, a few days ago. I've been tinkering around with a lot of things and I have quite a few things I want to talk about. So it's going to be a somewhat lengthy video, but I hope this is going to help you because it was a lot of fun to figure out different things, not just watching the Elgato live, but also like tinkering around with things in general when it comes to like a dual PC setup, especially if you have a Windows gaming PC and a Mac Mini streaming PC, or a Mac in general, right? It comes in really handy because Wavelink 3.0 is a new architecture and it works with Windows as well as Mac. Now, if you're a dual PC setup user and you're doing Windows and Windows, then Wavecast might probably be beneficial for you. If you're running into any issues, definitely reach out to support. But let's get started here because I have quite a few things I want to talk about. All right, so starting with Wavelink 3.0. Before you can install Wavelink 3.0, you do have to uninstall Wavelink 2.0. Okay, so like I had mentioned, it's a different architecture. So you're going to want to do that. Once you do, you're going to come initially when you set up to this set up your Wavelink 3.0. Oh, yeah, I was not trying to activate that. I was trying to show it for the vertical because I am recording in two different content formats. But I'm using the XLR dock, as you can see here. But if you don't have a Wave device, it'll ask you to set up your device, right? So it'll give you a startup tour. So we're going to click on Let's Get Started. Now on its thing, it's going to say connect your microphone. My microphone obviously is connected because I'm doing the video real time. And I'm actually using Wavelink right now while recording it and showing you all of the stuff. So this does not impact the audio at all. We're going to go to connect your headphones. So if you're listening through your headphones and not your speakers, and I'm currently not listening to either because I'm recording, you could essentially have this output to your particular speaker or headphone, right? And in this case, you want to connect it to wherever it's telling you to if you're having a Wave device. Usually on a Wave microphone, it's going to be in the back right here. Yeah. Right there. I don't know. Yeah, now you can see it. Like, lighting is important, okay? It's right there. And then if you're using the XLR dock, it's going to obviously be right here. And then the Wave XLR also has an audio aux jack. And so you're going to do that, and then you can hear yourself through your headphones, right? You can hear everything through your headphones, actually. And in this case, I'm not doing either because I'm currently recording content. So we're going to click on continue. Then it's going to tell you to position your microphone. And in this case, I already have what works for me, and I can swivel it. I do need to get the one with the gas piston, but I thought I had ordered it, but I actually put it in my save for later. Yeah, so I thought I ordered it, but I didn't. Anyways, that'll be something coming in the future, along with another particular product I'm going to talk about, which is their voice focus. I automatically have voice focus built in with the Wave XLR dock, the Wave 3 microphone, and the Wave XLR dock that's in another room hooked up to a Shure SM7B, which is an awesome microphone, but a lot of EQing and tweaking to get it to sound really good. I don't have to do that with the Wave DX using the XLR combo because the XLR dock itself just does it for me with voice focus. And I've been given a lot of feedback on how good this microphone sounds compared to my SM7B. So, you have to kind of learn how to finagle with audio when you're doing those things. And in this one, all I needed to do is just turn on voice focus and it's great. I don't even have any other VSTs on it. Like I used to have a lot of different VSTs. I don't need that. The only thing that I would want the VST voice focus for separately aside from the microphone is for my party chat, because sometimes people's microphone has a lot of background stuff in there and maybe I don't want to pick up all of that stuff. Maybe I just want to pick up my buddies and not like all of their happenings because they might have personal life going on, and I don't want that to be something that I include in a video if I'm doing a recording or a clip or etc. So yeah, but let's continue, right? So we positioned our microphone. And the cool thing about this is you can change your input gain. So I actually had mine at 60%, but it's saying your mic is too quiet, right? And now it's saying try increasing the gain. So what I've learned is just coming through the tutorial, I actually fine-tuned it to be at 70 because 70 seems to be the proper threshold for my voice. So you can try doing that, right? And you can see the little meter going left and right and whether it's going into like peaking. If I was to do it super loud, it probably wouldn't come through very well. So we're gonna keep it at 70% for myself. Yours might be different depending on your voice and how close your microphone is to you. It should usually be about a like fist length away from your mouth, and you should be good when you're using an XLR mic. Now, if you're using like a Wave 3 or a Wave 1 or, you know, a USB mic, then you're probably not going to need to be as close because they usually pick up a lot of sounds, like they're omnidirectional, I think is the word I want to use. I might have to fact check and look that up, but I do know that with the XLR mics, you do need them a lot closer so that way people can hear you. And if you haven't seen how those microphones work, you could probably look at one of the live streams where they're showing like an XLR, where if I move away over here, you're gonna hear me, but it sounds like really, really far away, right? So that's how you're able to tell the difference. Now, I'm not gonna go and plug this in because I don't need to use it. I only need one microphone right now, but it is cool that you can actually connect multiple microphones to Wavelink 3.0. Anyways, let's continue to the next step. You can try real-time voice monitoring. I cannot do that because, for one, it's like an audio delay for me, where if I hear my own voice, I pause and it freaks me out. So like I can't ever listen to myself ever. It's great for the people that can. I just can't do that. But you can actually change to what you hear between your microphone and your PC. And then you would just toggle this on and you'd be able to hear yourself essentially. And then we would hit continue. Now it says that my microphone is ready. So, and in this case, because it is a Wave device, it's picking up that it's an XLR dock. So it's saying it's done. And so that's it, right? Now, the cool thing is, like, if you have the Wave XLR or you have the XLR dock, you still have the phantom power, you still have the low impedance mode. You can add effects like a VST if you need to. And honestly, like I said, I'm only using voice focus because I really only need that. I don't need to worry about a low cut filter, but if you're that type of person who needs to like cut out a specific sound, like in a specific decibel or a range, a frequency, I'm sorry, then you would be using the low cut filter, right? I don't need that, but you could. And then if you ever need to do the tutorial again, you can always come to settings and go to start setup tour. And it also tells you what your firmware is too, which is really cool. Now, the other thing to mention, right, is in Wavelink 2.0, they added this really cool feature where you can do a sound check and record and you can hear your voice. So you can still do that here too if you ever needed to. So you would just come to the microphone, right? Instead of being in the mixes, you would literally just come to microphone and hit record and you can test yourself. You can unmute and then you can go to your mixes, right? So the mixes is the next thing. They do have marketplace integration. So like I could technically download my VSTs and add them. I do have to buy the voice focus VST. And I would like to add that here, but I don't have any VSTs installed on it right now. But essentially you would just go here and add an effect. And in this case, I would only ever add it to chat. And then you would be able to use voice focus or whatever VSTs you wanted to make your buddies sound good too. Like if you were doing a separate microphone, you would do the same thing. If you wanted to turn off your VSTs, all right, you would just go here. In this case, that's the VST I'm using. And then I just added voice focus back on. So it's a very simple thing to do. And then for the icons, since we're here talking about the mixes, right? This is where it adds your microphone. You could actually come here and the standard icon initially looks like this. I do like that they add this. However, I've gotten so used to using the icons from like Wavelink 1, Wavelink 2.0, that it's familiarity for me. So I went in here and literally changed the icon to match that. You do have to go in here and you would just go to the standard. It would be this, right? It would actually show you whatever the application is. You would just go in here and then you would select the icon that you want. And in this case, I chose chat because that helps me identify this is my chat channel. So here is the inputs, right? The audio channels, like you saw in Wavelink 2.0 where it had them across this way, it's now going to be vertical. And then the table right here is your submixes, right? So this is my monitoring. And then I can select what I want to route over here. So like if I didn't want my browser coming through, I could turn off the browser here and I would never hear the browser in here. I'd like to have the browser in here though, because this is my overall monitoring. Now for my games, I only have my game audio routing here. I don't need anything else routing over. Now if I was doing like, a game with chat session, I would probably come here and relabel this to game night, because I would probably want to hear my buddies, right? So I would probably say I want to hear chat and I want to hear game. And I would just do that for game night when I'm hanging out with my friends, if that's what I wanted to do. And in this case, I don't really need that mix because I control all of that here in monitor anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the mix because I don't need it. So did you see how I did that? I added one, right? And I realized, oh, you know what? I don't need this. So I can just literally go to the delete mix and it's gone. They only give you 5 of the submixes for now. I would say, if you're like me, an average user, where you're not doing a whole bunch of audio configurations, then you probably don't need more than like 3, maybe 4 or 5. But if you're doing something to a level or a degree that requires more than 5, then you might want to probably reach out to Elgato. I don't know, maybe go to their feature request page and then, ask them if they can add more submixes. But I would say be very detailed into your explanation as to why you need more than 5. And if maybe, I know Brita was joking about it where she said send her a PowerPoint. Like if you want to be that extra, hey, do it, right? I would be curious to see that too. I don't work for them, but I do enjoy some of the banter because I'm curious too. Like, why would you need more than 5? So if you do, like, drop it in the comments below, right? And then also do the feature request with Elgato, and maybe they might hear out your reason and see if that's something that they might implement in the future. Anyway, now that we're talking about mixes, I wanted to talk about dual PC streaming. If you have Windows to Windows on a dual PC, or even Windows to Mac on a dual PC, and you're just using Wavelink 3.0 since it's going to be free to the public, right? Which means it's no longer behind a device. It's not locked behind a device anymore. You can actually do it from PC to PC or PC to Mac or Mac to Mac. However, I haven't done Mac to Mac. I only have one Mac Mini, but I do have it going from PC to Mac because I have a gaming PC that I use as a single PC setup when I'm streaming console games. But when I'm playing PC games and I want to push my PC graphics to the max with my beautiful 5090, I am actually routing all of that to my Mac Mini. And so back in the day, right, like Wavelink 2.0 days, I know it wasn't that long ago, or even prior, you had to come into sounds and then go to more sound settings, and then you would have to go to recording. And then, in this case, I was always using Wavelink when this situation would happen. I would have to look for Wavelink Stream, which is no longer here, right? But let's use game as an example because it's one of the things. And then I would just go to listen, and then I would have to choose my 4KX capture card, which is not on right now, which is why we don't see it. But if there was, for example, if it was here, I would tell it to whatever that was to route. I mean, I could turn on the Mac Mini, but I'm not using it right now to record this. I'm using the Windows. But in other words, the 4KX would show up here and you would have to do all of that, right? You don't have to do that anymore, like at all with Wavelink 3.0. As a matter of fact, and this is actually what I have labeled as Mac Dual PC. So for those who can't see it on the vertical, I'm going to move it right here. And basically, as you can see, it's routing over to my 4KX. So I told it I want the audio to go to this device. And so it treats it like it's a speaker or a headphone, right? And it basically routes everything that's going to be in this particular submix over to my capture card. And it is so simple to do. So routing audio has been a lot easier using a capture card with Wavelink 3.0 than it has with Wavelink 1.0 or Wavelink 2.0. I know you could route everything over through the StreamDeck, and that was pretty cool. It made it a lot simpler for me, but you know, you still had to go into like the main menu, the settings, all that stuff, route it over just as I displayed, right? When all you really need to do here in Wavelink 3.0 is come here and then add output and look for your capture card and then route it over. Not only that, you could also route it over to, like, for example, your headphones or your speaker. And like, let's just say that I didn't want it going here. I could mute that and then have it route elsewhere, although I would want it going here. And let's just say that I want it to go to my headphones, right? Then I would tell it to go to my headphones. Granted, I don't ever have this going to my headphones. I have the audio specific things that I want routing over there. So in other words, my microphone and the game audio. That's all I want routed over to my Mac. And right now there's no Stream Deck plugin, so everything that you do in here is manual, like when you're configuring your sliders and everything. It's all manual. I have all of this 100%, right? Because I actually come in here and then I fine tune what I'm listening to, and we can do that. So I'm going to toggle this on. I'm going to tell this to go to my speakers because I'm not on my headphones, I'm not on my speakers, but I can tell this that this is the main device that I want it to go to. But really, I'm going to come here and say, you know what, I actually want to change that. So I want it to go to my speakers and my headset. But I'm going to mute my speakers right now because I am recording. So like all audio, if there is anything coming through, it's actually going to go to my headset for me to listen to if I had my headphones on. So like if I turned on my Corsair Virtuoso XT headphones, then it would be going in here and I'd be able to hear everything. And I do that when I'm actually live because I prefer everything to go to my headphones when I'm live streaming. But like, if I'm not live streaming and I want to just chill and kick back and listen to like music or whatever, then I'm going to mute this and I'm going to have this output. So, you know, it's a very simple thing to do. It would be nice to have a plugin on my Stream Deck to do that, but they're working on it. I know that they're currently demoing that at TwitchCon, so I have not seen that yet. I am curious what that looks like, right? And maybe soon we might be able to play around with that particular plugin, but it's just not available yet. I did find a workaround to mess with the volume sliders, but the volume sliders that are being messed around with are actually the overall sliders and not the submix. What I really want to control is just the submix. I don't want to control this. So it's like opposite for me. And we're going to get into that because there is a plugin that's currently available, which is the Elgato volume controller. And that's what I'm currently using, at least routing all of my audio, because that's what it's controlling with these inputs right here. So when you create these, then you can control them. And that includes muting and unmuting your microphone. Like so. And I didn't do that with the mouse, like at all. So like the mouse is going to be like right here, right? And as you can see, I was able to mute it and unmute it with my Stream Deck Plus. And I was actually using the toggle on the dial there. So as I mentioned, it's going to be a very lengthy video, but I feel like these are talking points so that way it can help somebody else who's currently using the beta at least have some form of control instead of having to manually come in here and do it every time. But if you are going to be changing your monitoring devices, you are going to have to actually come in here and physically do that with your mouse. So I have a specific game channel. I have over 160 games on my PC, and I don't play them all at once. But I do want to mention that when you are adding games, and as you can see, I only have 2 applications here, right? I have Studio because sometimes I play things in preview mode. I don't play any FPS games, which is why I'm able to use preview mode with my 4K Pro, and I can do that while live streaming because of the way that the card works. It allows you to have more than one application usage. If it is a 4KX, an external one, you know, or 4KS, or, you know, the Neo line, like any external capture card, you're not going to be able to do that. I don't know about the old school HD60 Pro. I don't know if you can do the multi-app usage, but I do know the 4K60 MK.2 and the 4K Pro do allow multi-app usage. So that's why I have Elgato Studio in preview mode going to one of my monitors while I have OBS at the bottom on my ultra wide when I'm live, so that way I can still play in preview mode because you know, I set it up to do a cool little light show. You cannot do that with an external capture card. There's no way you can do multi-app usage. So just keep that in mind for those who are trying to do that. If you're using an external capture card, you can only use one application at a time with it. So make sure you are either using pass-through with your TV or gaming monitor, or if you're using it like a dual PC setup, then you're probably doing something entirely different, right? Where you have your gaming rig, all the audio is just routing through the gaming, and then you're routing it over to your streaming, and then you have more control over audio on your streaming. And that's what works for me. That's why I have this set up the way that I do when I'm streaming over to my Mac, because all audio, just basically what I have as my default, is going over to the Mac. Speaking of defaults, this is actually a segue into it. So in the volume mixer, what I've done is with my game, I set my game audio as my default and then my microphone as my input. Now the reason why I did this was all gaming that I set up, I don't have to come in here and independently route it. It's automatically just going to route through here without me having to do so. So I'm going to actually open up Steam real quick, and I'm going to launch, I don't know, whatever video game. Oh, Steam is updating. Give me just a second, y'all. And the game that I'm going to launch, it's going to be a pixel remaster, Final Fantasy, right? I'm just going to launch it, so like y'all aren't going to hear anything, but you're going to see it coming through the game as soon as it launches. I could do it in full screen, but I'm kind of glad I had it in window for a moment. All right, so you see how the audio is coming through. It's not coming through my microphone, it's just going through game, and as you can see, it's not routed. I can add it, but it's not routed, but yet it's coming through game because that is my default channel. And that is for someone who has over 11 games, right? And I say 11 because I tested this. You can only add, currently in the beta, 11 apps to one group. So you can add another group, label it game, and add another 11 apps, but that gets tedious over a process, right? So why not make it simple and just set your game as your default and then have all of the gaming audio just come through the default, where you don't have to go in here and configure that at all. And then any applications you're not using, you can create a separate cluster and you can call them system, right? And then you just come here and choose whatever icon that's going to help identify what that is for you. And in this case, I don't have a lot of system apps that I use on my PC in general. So like the alerts, I get to hear them through my headphones, right? If I have it routed to system, although I actually have it routed to my headphones directly so I can hear it. And then obviously if I'm listening to some kind of trailer on Steam, I'm able to hear it through my system instead of my game. If I'm listening to DaVinci Resolve, like when I'm doing any kind of like editing, I hear that through system. Same thing when I'm looking at one of the clips or whatever. And then like any Tickfinity notifications, right? Not that Tickfinity makes sounds, because usually it comes through the stream, but you know, just in case I need to be alert of something. And then obviously I have Spotify going to my music channel, because you know, you could go back to standard app icon and it would do that, but I have it going to the music and that works for me. I set these icons up just to make it simple for me to remember where they are. And like I had it very much set up the way like Wavelink 2.0 was for me because of familiarity. But you can label this whatever you want. You could choose the icons to help you identify it, or what I would hope, because this is not a feature yet, and I say yet because I don't know if Elgato is going to do it or not, but maybe customize your own icon, right? Like that would be cool if I could come in here and tell it, no, I want my own icon. And that, I don't know if that's going to be a feature or not, but it would be cool if it was, right? And so again here, right, when we're coming to our submixes, what I've noticed is if you look here, I have my speaker and my headphones going here. I'm going to mute the speaker though. And then I want to come to my game, and let's say one day I just want to listen purely to my game, right? So I have to add it here. But now when I come back here, it's taken away my device here. So I would like to see that when you do that, where it just kind of like lets you choose which mix you want to listen to with what device between your speaker or your headphones. I would like to see that implemented as well, because if I come back here, I'm not going to know that it actually moved my headphones. But now that you're aware of that, you do know that you have to come back in here and re-add it to whatever mix you're listening to. I never changed this one because this one is specifically going to my Mac Mini through the dual PC setup. So once I set this up, I forget it. That's why you don't see anything else here. It's because I'm not listening to that when I'm listening to it in here or here. So keep that in mind as well if you're doing dual PC. Now, if you are doing dual PC, which is a segue into Wavecast, I have Wavecast. I do plan to build a 2026, 2027 Windows PC for streaming. So when that happens, Wavecast lets you activate up to 3 PCs. However, it only works on Windows, and you can only use 2 PCs in unison with it at the same time. So, you know, Wavecast can go over the network to Wavecast on another Windows PC, but it won't do 3. It'd be cool, right? There are people who have usage for a need for 3, but Wavecast can only do 2. So in other words, one going one way to the other, right? And what I would want for something like that is to be able to listen to what I need to. I don't think it does independent routing, so I think it would behave very similar to this. And in this case, let's look at this. So if you notice, there's Wavecast, right? So if I was using Wavecast, I could say, hey, I don't want it to just go through my capture card. Instead, like, let's just say the capture card wasn't a thing for audio. I would want it to actually just go through Wavecast, and I could do that. So that comes in handy when it comes to routing it over. I think it's a very simple way to cast those things over, or you can do cast to cast, right? And so let's pull up Wavecast real quick here. Sorry, everything's loading. Oh, okay, I guess there was an update. All right, so right now I don't have a second Windows PC, but if I was doing it, it would go remote here and it would connect to the other one there. And I wouldn't actually have to come in here and do that. But in case you wanted to, you could, which I think is a really cool thing because you can be specific about what you want routed to Wavecast, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind, right? Like if you're activating it from that PC and you're telling it, you know what, I want you to route from my PC to Wavecast, and Wavecast is going to that PC. So I think that's a really cool thing to do. So just keep that in mind. Alrighty, and then we've already covered these particular topics, right? And now we're going to get into Stream Deck. So there's no plugin except for the volume controller, right? And if we go here, because this is where all my audio is, we're going to go to... If you try to do Wavelink, look, check it out. It's going to tell you open Wavelink. It does not recognize Wavelink 3.0 because I'm using the previous plugin of Wavelink, and it just kind of lives rent-free right now in Stream Deck, but the software, but it doesn't work for me the way that I need it to, right? Because it's not recognizing Wavelink, because I don't have Wavelink 2.0 or Wavelink 1.0. I have Wavelink 3.0 beta. So what I've learned is volume controller is actually the one that's going to work for me. And then, you know what, I'll create this here and we'll do it as a demo. So you have your input device, which is usually your microphone. So I can tell it, I can choose my mic, I can choose my submixes, which I think is really cool. So in this case, I'm going to choose my mic, right? And I'm going to tell it to mute. So that's how you can currently mute your microphone directly if you wanted to, right? I don't really need that there, but let's go ahead and look at our dual PC, right? So now we can add it as our submix. We can add our submix here, and we can tell it, you know, how loud or how low we want it to go through. I would never change the audio here because I would actually be controlling the audio levels on the streaming PC, but you could essentially do that. And maybe I need to have this open in the background for you all to see what I'm doing, right? So let's look at that. It's controlling the overall audio for that submix, which I think is really cool. I don't know if you all had discovered that or known that you can utilize the volume controller because it's really controlling all of Windows audio. And so it recognizes that because of the architecture. So it's come in extremely handy, right? And in this case, I keep it at 100, so I don't need to worry about that. But I also have my monitor mix, right? So now I can close this. And this is the one I primarily use, right? So let's go ahead and I know I'm kind of like having to move some stuff around here. But as you can see, I can do the same thing with the monitor mix, right? Instead of having to control the individuals in the submix. What I would love is to be able to control these right now. I don't have that option to do that yet. But this hopefully is more helpful for you, at least controlling the audio volumes a little bit better. If I was just listening to my game, right, like from here, I'd probably toggle this one. More than anything, I would probably toggle that one. But I have this actually set up for like a specific gaming channel in my OBS when I'm doing my live streams. So all of my game is really just going here, and I'm having that at 100% because I have a lower level in OBS for everybody here. So I keep that 100%. Like, I just do not mess with this one unless I want to listen to just game audio. Then I come here. But really, I don't need to do that. I actually just come here and listen to it. It's just easier for me. And that way I can hear the overall stuff. But I wanted to talk about that because I find that having the volume controller plugin until Wavelink's 3.0 plugin for Stream Deck is out is extremely handy to control at least some audio. But right now that's all I was able to find. I couldn't control the independent sliders in the submixes. So, you know, hopefully that's a thing that comes out here soon, right? Like, that's what I'm hoping for. But these on the outputs, oh yeah, I meant to show you this. So on the outputs, on the output control under the volume controller, you can control, for example, game. Now you see it on the left right here, how it's moving. It does that on the actual like audio for the overall. And I didn't want that, right? Like, I wanted to control these. So just be mindful of that. For now, what I've been doing is using the monitoring, where I just control what I hear from my monitor, which is fine because I can actually just control the overall, and it's fine for me. Usually I keep everything at like 60 anyways. So for example, I do all of this, right? And then I come back here, and instead of controlling the output, I'm going to control an input, and I'm going to tell it that I want it to listen to my monitor. And then I can actually just come here and fine tune it to where it's at 60. Right, well, is it doing by 1 or by 2? I thought it was by 1. Oh, here we go. There we go. So I'm a little nitpicky. I like to do it by increments of 1. So that's why I was adjusting the adjust right here on the input gain. So I can do that, right? Change it, and oh wait, y'all can't see me moving it. So I can change it like that, and I can tell it, you know what, I want you to be at 60%, because that's actually what I prefer to hear. I don't like it at 100%. I like to be at a reasonable decibel. You know, it's just better overall for your ears. But yeah, I hope that's helped everybody. Again, thank you for watching.